Hey, Stepbot, I'm home.
Alright, hello, welcome to my pain. I haven't felt the sensation of a woman's touch, and it's really getting to me. This MMO isn't making it any better. Now, as you can see, this episode's main topic is VHRC. VHRC is a madhouse. Most content creators forget that, and they forget that this is where they came from. And they believe that
content is too easy.
Yes, it is easy. The thing is, we're playing an MMO. So even though the content is easy, it's the brain-dead cretins that make this game a living hell. Here, let me explain. VHRC isn't hard, but it is hard to tank, and when you start out, and you haven't really ever done it before. So why did I jump into a VHRC? Well, the loot. Why did I go in knowing that I was going to get my teeth caved in? Well, I knew that Crag was desperate and wouldn't even think twice in accepting me as a tank. Why was I tanking it back then when I had a DPS instead? Well, getting into a VHRC in Craglorn is very hard as a low CP DPS, especially when usual shit shows look like this. Despite pulling a significant amount of DPS, it's really hard to carry a run if your team is on the floor the entire time, and since I'm not pulling any good DPS, I just said, hey, this is probably my best opportunity to start tanking trials. And the desperation of Crag needing tanks and me being desperate at not being outcasted by all my known guilds, this was sort of the driving force to becoming a tank. And this really leads on to the story of my arc here. So, I'm going to tell you about a story of this man who started from very humble beginnings. He was outcasted by society, and his newly sought friends thought that giving them criticism was a personal attack on them, despite routinely insulting the man and labeling him as a furry. Alas, this didn't stop the young lad. His DPPS was pretty small back then, so he forged onward. But where his DPP was small, his health sure was big. With vitality being his only saving grace, he decided my DPP is small, but my health pools are big and large. So from there on, he made it a mission to actively try. Alright, I'm really getting tired of the third person speak here, so let me just cut straight to it. I just need to tank these runs because it felt like it was the only way to assure I have a spot in any run for VHRC, which I desperately needed at the time because no advancing Yokeda means no damage for my stand tune, and also no guild to run with, so I had no way to farm runs. And 3, Craglorn was very racist against low CPs, so to further prove my way into forcing obedience out of Craglorn, I decided that tanking was my best option. So as I went forward and only having Nephis and Zynode videos in my pocket, thinking, it's probably good enough. First pull's going smooth, your boy rough around the edges, but I'm getting it, I guess. Until he shows up. Now, as I started tanking the ads, it was very apparent to me that my sustain was shit, my tanking was bad, and I was getting slammed worse than an anime girl in a doujinshi. It was over. Well, I actually think what sealed the fate was due to my amazing foresight and thinking, hey, this boss is throwing a heavy out. I should swap my bars. I honestly probably could have lived it if I stayed on the back bar. As I watched as he ravaged my team, I got back up, got him pulled over, but essentially I had no stam left. I was barely able to survive that first heavy attack he came back out of. So essentially, I get my feet recovered, I start to pick up again, until he does this move. No one told me how hard this thing hit. I was sitting there having to spam my Arctic Wind heal over and over to even live through it. Thinking that maybe, just maybe, I could live the second one if I just stood still and just straight up Arctic Wind from the beginning. It turned out to be a big mistake, as he killed me instantly, but luckily our DPS pulled through and we were able to kill it without me. Best tank, by the way. So in order to save my ass, I decided it'd probably be better off to pretend that I was a DPS so that no one knew I was the one that was tanking. I'm very smart.
Nothing really happened on this next boss, so there's no point in really going over it. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip us on through. Now, you may be thinking, if I struggled with the first boss, this boss is going to make mincemeat. I think I shall take a break and tell you at the time, I didn't really know a lot about investing my CP points properly. I had a ton of them to spare, and the ones I did have, none of them, and I mean none of them, were allocated in direct damage mitigation. Sometimes foreshadowing is fairly obvious.
Please! Please! No!
Yep. Absolutely the worst tank in mankind. Luckily, he started running off after a DPS, and that gave me enough time to get rezzed. Once round 2 started, it seemed like everything was going okay. I had him back taunted, he was on me, I was starting to survive the heavy attacks. And as they kept swinging in, I kept living through them. Everything was fine. But the thing is, this boss has a move, and I call it
The cleanse.
First, he amazingly strikes our healer out as he just stands there in the kill zone. And somehow gets another confirmed kill from a guy who's clearly out of the blast zone. But then, he charges it up. One by one, our comrades fell, till only half the raid team left. Desperately holding on for life here, we all scrambled to our feet thinking we can make it if we just try. We were only 30% away from victory. But this boss didn't let down, killing more in his path. Just when we were battered and on the brink of death, he did the unthinkable. As Madara let down the first planetary extinction rock from the sky, he sent down the second. Luckily, we were much prepared for this as we were at least Jonin level shinobis. However, this man clearly wasn't Madara. He started destroying our entire platoon. We begged for forgiveness, but as Heinz once stated, death is a mercy that frees you from suffering. Luckily for us, we were starting to recover our fallen as we got near the next
Cleanse.
and this is what devastated us. I was starting to lose hope. We had lost too many. By some god's gift miracle, Harmony was able to res the entire raid group, which is an amazing clutch. Got us back up and standing to fight again. So we ended up stabilizing for a bit, and then we totally got onto the next cleanse. Clearly, we're still not even halfway up the mountain. We were getting completely decimated. I started to get cocky because I've now officially handled myself a bit better. Okay, it was very obvious I was on the floor half this run, but hey, we don't talk about my downfalls. We're here to talk about my very humble stupor and my amazing skills on my tank. Before we clearly state the obvious, let me just go ahead and preface this. Remember, this is my first time taking this trial. So yes, everything you're seeing here is absolutely 100% my fault that it's happening, okay? Alright, with that being said, I was clearly not handling the situation properly. Obviously. Despite everything, I was actually at my lowest point right here. Like, really. A lot of time on the floor means you get a lot of time to think about what you're doing wrong. And even when I felt like I was getting the hang of it, it felt like I was just getting slapped around due to not being able to protect myself against his heavy attacks. So I guess here's my word of advice for you newer tanks. Come in with direct damage mitigation on your CP. You will save yourself so many times to have it. Almost all of this boss's moves are relying on it. And I mean it. All of it. So as I even try to get up, it felt like I shouldn't have even taunted here because He was already doing his fucking combos on me. I was getting pummeled in the corner like it was like Street Fighter. All this corner tech bull crap going on. I was completely dumbfounded. At this point, I was beaten down. I was wore down. I didn't even want to continue. It felt horrible. As we continued, it felt worse and worse. Just watching my team get clapped because I can't tank properly. It's one of the worst experiences I've known. Just kept failing and failing. I don't even have to block that, you know? The boss must have sensed my dread because it came over, just fucking ended me. I'm loving this. I'm completely loving this. For some reason, I started to think that the boss was actually starting to get tired of playing this game, so he just started breaking the game mechanics.
It's a feature, not a bug.
The boss started to charge up his planetary destruction move again, and decided to decimate our entire raid group again. This time, there was no survivors.
Has to try and recover.
I don't ask questions. All I knew is I had a job to do. I start Rocky Balboa. I'm bobbing, I'm weaving. He can't hit me, he can't touch me. I'm untouchable. I'm not letting him do a single heavy attack on me because I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to tank it properly. So as he pushes me back, we start to regain our numbers. Unfortunately, the next cleanse happens again, and I'm the only one alive again.
Has to try and recover.
Seriously, I don't know how this keeps happening. What is going on? Whatever. We keep going, because that's what we do. We raid until we die. Somehow we were still holding on. We were able to keep going. We had the numbers. We were still fighting for that last 10%. Somehow, despite it all, we were able to get ourselves picked back up and able to join the fight. It felt like we were very disorganized, but we were just coordinated enough to get everything done properly. Once he initiated the move again, we lost a few more lives, but we were still holding on. We still had a chance. I think the DPS at this point were getting pretty tired of rezzing, but I don't blame them. I became too reliant on healers trying to heal me throughout all the things I've done. So this time I was taking my own stand. I was forcefully healing myself and allies near me. As we continued to beat down, I think the DPS just got tired of healing these people just for them to die 3 seconds later. So they just started DPSing the boss. It was low enough to where we could get away with it. So we just continued. And somehow, it worked. We kept fighting and fighting. Eventually, we were able to get the boss down. This may be shocking to a lot of you, but we ended up finishing the trial with 0 vitality. 38 minutes, half of which were spent on the last boss. We were tired. We were dead. But yet, this wasn't the last time I was going to be in here. But that is a story for next time.